In this session, we're going to see how to upload large amounts of data using the system's batch upload feature, which will take as input a CSV file, comma separated values file that has been generated probably in most cases by having done an export from your system's EHR. And now the first thing to know about the CSV files is the format is fairly important. Each particular type of upload, depending on the kind of data that you will be uploading, whether it's assessment data or client data, the format needs to follow some rules where you have to have some data required, and the data has to be in a particular format. So going through all of that is a little bit out of the scope of this tutorial, but what you can do in order to get some information about what the CSV files need to look like, if you go to the Objective-Arts help, and if we come back to the Objective-Arts the help system homepage, and we scroll down a little bit and we see admin, and we scroll down a little farther and we can see here is help for batch uploads, and then the one for the formats is obviously the batch upload formats link. So if you click on that, it brings you to a page that will detail scroll down a little bit, we see, like, starting here is the format if you were updating or uploading, excuse me, a set of roles. So here you can see the first record needs to be column headers indicating what each field is going to be in each successive row underneath, and then each row here would be the data that you would be uploading. And if we go down a little farther, we can see different types. For example, if we wanted to upload some client data, here would be a sample CSV file that could be used to upload client data. If we wanted to do some client placement data, here's a file similarly for client placements. So let's go back to the system, and here is the page. Immediately after logging in, we are presented with this page. And so in order to get to the batch upload feature, we click on admin, and then next we pick from the top menu bar here, we pick system setup, down to integration, and pick batch uploads. So now what this is showing us, this is just a list of all the batch uploads that have been done in the system, or possibly could be waiting to be run. In this case, we see 4 that have actually been run in the past, and we see, like, for example here, the type. This was an upload of some client placement data, and the rest of these were all uploads of client data. And status here will tell you this one has finished, and you can see actually all of them have finished, but this one failed, did not complete successfully. And failure is pretty much indicated by the presence of just at least one error out of all the records that you may have uploaded. We can see here for all these jobs, all we did was upload one record. These are pretty simple examples here. And we can see that for most of these, again, there was one record that uploaded and was processed successfully, no errors, and for this particular client job, it looks like there was one error. So in order to start uploading the data, we need to create a couple upload jobs and then run them. And the example that we're going to use here for this particular tutorial is we're going to take a fairly simple example where we're just going to upload one client, and then we're going to upload one placement for that particular client. Now, it may be easier just to kind of, rather than create an entire couple batch jobs in order to do that, it may be simpler just to add a client and add a placement through the admin section of the tool. But normally you wouldn't upload just one record of each type. Normally there may be hundreds or even thousands of records, which obviously is time prohibitive to do through just the admin section of the tool. So the batch upload feature is needed in those instances to move just large amounts of data into the system. So let's get started with our example. The first thing we need to do is create the client upload job. So the way we do that is you click on the new upload, and it presents you with a list of all the different types of uploads that you can do. And we can see some of these we saw back in the help as the different types that you can upload, and we saw some of the formats for those, and we see client, client placement, organizational unit, and so forth, roles, various jobs for staff information, assessments up here you could do. But again, we're interested in uploading for a client, so we select client, becomes highlighted, and then we have to provide it with a file. Our CSV file. So we do that by clicking on the Browse button, and it brings up a dialog. And so what we can do is here is the file that I'm interested in, is this client example, and so we can open that. And then we have to click on Submit in order for the file to actually be uploaded to the system. So if I click on Submit, all that's done was just move the data from wherever you selected, wherever the file happened to be sitting on your machine. All it did was upload the data or the file from your machine to the Objective-Arts system. We haven't actually processed it yet, so if we close out of here, we can see here there's a new row, which is the file that we just uploaded, and it's sitting here in new status, meaning it's pretty much just ready to be run. We haven't run it yet. Nothing has really happened yet. And then if we wanted to actually go ahead and run it, we highlight the row, select the row, and we click on Process Selected. And what that's going to do is import the data from that one file, the one client record that we see we have here, into the system. So click on Process Selected, and it tells me that the file was submitted for processing. And normally it wouldn't complete as quickly as it just has. Normally you would see it probably be in the processing state, and you could click on Reload to see when it finally completed. But in this case, since it was such a simple file, it's done fairly immediately. So we can see that we had run one record, and it looks like it was successful. Now, if we go and take a look, if we just browse over to that file. This is actually the file that we just uploaded. This is using our spreadsheet to look at the CSV file. We can see that we wanted to do an update, and the name was test subject, and the client identifier was 11112222. We have a date of birth over here of January 12th, 2004. So now if I have another tab open here looking at the client admin side. If I now go and navigate and try to find that client by entering the ID here, apply filter, it should bring up that subject, and we can see here it's test subject that matches what we had back here in the CSV file. The identifier is the same. If we open this, we can see here is our birth date of January 12th, 2004, which matches the data that we had on the upload file. Now we can also see here, right now we can see that we don't have any placements, and that's the second half of our example, is to upload a placement. So let's go and do that. So we switch back over to the batch uploads screen, and we select another upload, so new upload, and this time we're interested in client placement. And so again, we have to browse in order to find our client placement CSV, and here again is here's the client one that we just did, so now we want the client placement one. So we select it, click open, and we have to submit again in order to actually transfer the file from the local machine to the Objective-Arts system. And then we can close out of this window, and we see we have a client placement job that is in status new. There's one record ready to be run. So let's go ahead and process that. And again, this is a fairly simple example, so it's done, but this time we see that there's a failure, so something has gone wrong. So how do we know what has gone wrong? Well, we can use the error reporting feature here, and if we select the row and then click on Show Error Details, it'll open up a small window. And what it tells us is for each record that was in error, and it will give you the line number of the record, and it will tell you what the exact error was for the record. So what this is telling us is that there was an org unit that we submitted for the placement for that client of CTY 100, and that org unit was not found. And so what we can do is we can go and open our client placement example. And we see here org unit of CTY 100, and we know that that is wrong, and we'll change it to here's what it should be, and we just know that that's the correct org unit just because we happen to remember. And so if we save now with that new org unit code, close out of this file, and let's go try to do our upload again. And you will need to do a new upload because you have to upload an entirely new file. We've edited the file on our local machine, but in order to actually process it, we'd have to upload to the Objective-Arts system again. So you would need to do a new upload. So here again, client placement, and if we browse, we pick our file that we've just modified, submit, close out of here, and now we select the batch upload to run and click process selected. And this time we see a success count of 1. And so if we navigate over to the client admin again, if we refresh here and we see here's our test subject, and then if we open again, down here we see the placement that has just been uploaded. So the last thing is, let's say when we saw this error message for our client placement job, in this case there's only one. It's a fairly simple example, there's only one. But supposing you're uploading, let's just say 1,000 client records, and interspersed throughout the file maybe there's 100 errors with various problems that you will need to correct. So it's a little unwieldy to just, for a case like this, again, it's very simple just to click on the show error details and, oh, there's our problem, and I recognize this should have been a 10 instead of a 100. Okay, great. I can be kind of on my way with a simple edit. But if you have 100 or so errors, that's a little too much just to look through in a small window. So what you can do is you can download the error details. And so if you select a job, and click on download error details, it will download a spreadsheet for you, and actually a CSV. And so if you double click and open using spreadsheet or whatever editor will edit a CSV file for you, and you can see here's our fairly simple example, but if there were more they would be listed throughout the file.